For any of you who have listened to the new Voices of Black Media for any appreciable length of time, I'm sure you've noticed that there's a pattern that emerges. It happens about twice a year. During the summer months is usually when the pattern starts. It's when the new Voices of Black Media's YouTube and Facebook accounts and Twitter accounts come under attack. That's the main time of year that we see our accounts getting banned, flagged, locked, suspended. Happens every summer, personally. And it's not just limited to the summer. Also around the end of the year, similar things have been known to happen then, but there's also something else that happens during the summer and around the end of the year too. Attacks on our channels and social media as attacks on us personally. Some off-kilter crap where people, phonies, fakers, frauds, and fools come out of the woodwork trying to start some counterfeit movement to rival us. People start attacking the new Voices of Black Media directly and personally. Now, these are always people who had tried to come off like they were with us. Did you notice that pattern, by the way? And this year, these agents have been extra busy. Now, frequently, a lot of you will ask me and send me messages saying, Professor Truth, have you heard about this person? Or, hey, Professor Truth, do you know about this guy over here or this or that group? Hey, have you heard of this person? Oh, they're saying this and they sound very interesting. And I don't answer those requests. I don't answer those questions. I don't even acknowledge it. I don't say anything. As Jason Black likes to say, if you don't hear me saying something, I'm saying something. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I don't believe in giving these parasites any air or attention or helping them spread the word about whatever it is that they're claiming they want to do. And you want to know why? These are the people who work to shut our channels down. These same fakers who pretend to be one of us, and they leave some okay-sounding comments and otherwise try to present themselves as being with us. But what happens is, without much looking, you find out that these people, they get themselves into these other chat rooms, they get themselves these other Twitter threads, these other groups, and they're the main ones attacking us and talking grimy about us and saying how you shouldn't be listening to us and what's wrong with us. In the last few days in particular, Brother Tariq has come under particularly vociferous attack from these agents. But he's not the only one. They do this mess across the board. They've been doing it for a while now. You see, as the thought leaders of black media, we make it a point to have people prove themselves. You can't just walk in the room 5 seconds ago and say, well, brother, you know I'm down, right? So you're going to go ahead and mention my Twitter page, right? We are not going to damage our credibility or our legitimacy by shouting out fools who we don't know, who don't have a track record, and who could be working for the white powers that be. When Jason Black said we're going to start doing people's paperwork, we're going to start checking whether or not this person's legit, that's exactly what it means. And if you've been watching, that's the main thing these agents have been attacking the new black media over. How come you ain't publicizing us? How come you ain't shouting us out? How come you ain't telling people about us? I put together this little thing over here. How come you ain't told nobody about it? These fools who have no presence, who just showed up 5 seconds ago and who have put in no work and haven't achieved anything, yet they're telling you to abandon the new black media. Notice how that's the main thing that they say? The main thing they say is you need to turn your back on those new black media folks. Why are you listening to them? They ain't real. Now, doesn't that sound like ops to you? I mean, that sounds straight out of the J. Edgar Hoover COINTELPRO playbook, because that's exactly what white FBI agents and CIA agents were doing against the civil rights movement back in the 60s and 70s. The only difference between now and then is now it's digital, now it's online. They aren't doing stuff where you have white agents sitting around in an FBI field office writing letters trying to pretend to have a black scent on paper, telling Dr. King, you are this, that, and the third. You're a fraud and nobody likes you and you should just kill yourself. Same thing they did to Malcolm and others. It's not white FBI agents sitting around writing phony letters pretending to be black people. This time, it's probably FBI agents with phony Twitter accounts, but also some of these phony little faking fraud bootlicking fools out here who are doing the same thing. Now, a key part of COINTELPRO is to get the black grassroots to buy into the lies and to put their trust in the liars. And that's the reason why you see them attacking us so viciously, because we won't signal boost them. One of the things that we as the new black media have done is to insulate ourselves and you. We put up walls deliberately. This way, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can just walk in and claim to be the voice of the people. You got to prove yourself. And you can't just do one or two things. It's very difficult for agents to establish themselves in this space that the new black media has carved out because we taught you not to trust people unless they have a track record. See, brothers like myself and TBA, Tariq, Tarian Rain, Lisa Cabrera, Nicole's View, Mr. Superboy, and a number of others, we've been out here for a long time, a real long time. We didn't just pop up overnight. You know who I am. I've been out here 15 years, and that's just on YouTube. My work offline is practically double that long. And I'm not the only one. You got a number of the new voices of black media who've been out here summers and winters. We have passed the test of time and proven ourselves. And there is no substitute for that kind of reputation, that kind of longevity, that kind of legitimacy. You see, these agents, they don't have that kind of track record, and they never will. And they know it. Because we made it where you get judged based on how much work you've put in and for how long. That automatically weeds these agents out. We set these parameters in place for a reason. So, how are these agents and attention whores supposed to get you to even look in their direction when we have conditioned you to ignore them? They can't. That's why you see them launching these attacks on the voices of new black media. People who we've never said a word about, people who we've never mentioned or disparaged, and yet you see them frothing at the mouth, losing their minds over and over and over again, just these across-the-board line of attacks by people who claim, I was a listener to Professor Truth, I used to be following Tariq on Instagram, I was listening to Jason Black, but I can't do it anymore, these guys, they ain't real. You have this coordinated noise saying that the new voices of black media, they ain't down. And they say that mess as if you, the faithful, are going to be so silly, so gullible, that you'll take the word of some Johnny-come-latelys who just got a Twitter account 6 months ago and a YouTube account 3 months ago over the new voices of black media who have been out here well over a decade. Agents are always looking for instant clout, instant legitimacy. Because they can't get it on their own. They're not about to put in the time that it takes to actually build real legitimacy because that would require them to attack the very edifice of white supremacy that they're looking to eat off of. See, that's the reason why putting in the time is important. You got to show that you've struck some serious blows against white supremacy, that you've been undermining them 5 ways from Sunday and giving them hell. These agents and attention whores, they just want to con as many of you into following them as quickly as possible. Now, as new black media, we made it a point that people have to prove themselves. You don't get to be shouted out simply because you repeat our phrases, or you use 1 or 2 hashtags that we've used, or because you claim to be down with the struggle. We've seen this trick before many times. When TBA said we're checking people's paperwork, that's what we meant. And when we don't find any paperwork, you're suspect. You see, these clowns, whether they be agents trying to get themselves in good with the white power structure, or attention whores who are thinking to themselves that, hey, that whole talking about people's chakras and all that gibberish from back in the day, that train derailed, so they think this is going to be their new finesse, this is going to be their new hustle. They're mad at us because we have made it impossible for them to establish themselves. These fools are furious because to them, this is not and has never been about empowerment. It's just a hustle. It's about a come up for themselves. Well, black empowerment is not some half-baked hustle for dusty dudes, hood rats, and attention whores who are desperate for someone to acknowledge that they exist. These agents have made it clear to everyone their mission isn't to promote our people's interests, it's to tear down the new voices of black media. And why would they want to do that? Because that's the one thing all these loud, obnoxious morons who keep doing this mess have in common. All of them make it a point to attack the new black media. They always have some beef with all of us. And the reason, what's the reason that's most commonly used? We're not keeping it real. And real means we're not promoting them. That's what it means. Hey, I'm over here. You ain't promote my YouTube channel. You ain't saying nothing about my Twitter. Hey, I was calling myself having some get together. Y'all ain't saying nothing about it. Yet we're not telling people how great these nobodies are. And what's the main thing these agents go full Neanderthal over? It's always because we're not telling you to go pay attention to them. I've had fools do that with me for years. So this is the MO. They pop up out of nowhere. They start posting as many comments as they can and as many Twitter feeds as they can. They scream and yell our verbiage and our talking points. They're trying to get your attention when they do that. They try to do that and try to imitate us as much as they can so they can try to convince you that they're legitimate, when thinking people know that real hitters move silently. Agents want everyone to think that they're the real thing. That's their job. And then they lead you to destruction. So these agents aren't just popping up out of nowhere. As I've always told you, nothing happens in a vacuum under white supremacy. These fools have been sent to destroy the influence of the new black media from within. You see, they couldn't damage us using their white media. The white media's efforts to manufacture their own controlled, cherry-picked, bootlick operatives, these pretend grassroots activists, they failed to get your attention. You guys didn't even pay them any mind, precisely because the white media presented them to you, and they recognize that. So now they're sending infiltrators into these spaces, and they leave lots of comments in everybody's Twitter feed, everybody's comment section, everybody's Facebook account saying that they love what we do, and they're B1 to the core, and cut the check, etc. They try to use all of our phrases as much as they can. The same way that they had goofy white FBI agents try to sound black when they wrote hate mail to discredit and attack Dr. King and Malcolm and the other civil rights leaders. But they also had a number of black turncoats who were helping to oppress black people too and trying to find a way to be masses agents on the inside. From Malcolm to Martin to Fred Hampton, whenever our icons from the 60s were murdered, there was always some bootlicks who were acting as point men for the white supremacist government. And these were the ones who came along saying, well, now that they're gone, y'all need to follow us. So that's what these noisemakers are about when they attack us. They scream that we didn't shout them out or that we don't offer solutions. It's so obvious these are plants who were sent to try to create dissension among us, to get you to listen to them. They want you not to like the black media. And for what? You don't listen to their white media. You don't listen to their phony imitation grassroots activists. So since they can't undermine our support from the outside, they're trying to figure out if they can do it from the inside. They plant phony black empowerment listeners, people who claim to be listeners, people who claim to be viewers in our feeds and our channels. And these guys run around to the most high profile among us, and they make sure to post lots of comments in our YouTube videos and Twitter accounts. They want you to see that. You're the audience they're trying to reach with that. Then they send us messages saying to shout them out. Tell everyone about their Twitter hangout, because if they can get us to do that, then that's supposed to give them instant legitimacy. And then they'll see how many of you they can peel away from us. And when you look at how many of these angry morons we have trying this, you understand there's a program at work here. When it comes to the new black media, you notice that it takes time before we mention somebody's name. It takes a while, and that's for a reason. The people who are actually doing the work, they're not bothering anyone or pestering anyone or attacking anyone saying you need to shout me out. That's because when a black person is actually doing the work, they're able to gather a following on their own. They don't need to run around badgering other people to shout them out. These people who want to be shouted out, it's because they want an instant following. And that means it's not about black empowerment, it's about themselves. We got fools chasing online celebrity, morons who are chasing internet fame and trying to use this very real, very deadly struggle that we're in as a springboard to get famous for 15 minutes. If you're truly about black empowerment, you don't need to hound people for retweets or shoutouts. That'll come on its own if you're real. And if you got to do all that, it's because you can't attract or hold people's attention on your own. And perhaps that's because people can see you're not about anything. You're a phony, and they can smell it on you. Well, getting the new voices of black media to shout you out isn't going to get the stink off of you. And for those of you who listen to us, this is something that you need to understand. When we tell you that you are the prize that the white media and the black bootlicks are fighting over, that's what we mean. If a critical mass of black people get on code and start making the right kind of noise consistently, that will shake the society. The target that these agents and attention whores are trying to destroy isn't the new voices of black media. It's you, because too many of you are listening to us, and these agents and attention whores are being starved for attention. You got people who are clearly working for the government on the one hand, and you also got these little gutter rats who want to pretend to be about black empowerment so they can pretend to be influential. As they see it, if they can get enough of you to fall for their phony black first imitation, then they can parlay that into a position of trust with the white media, or otherwise get money from the white powers that be. This is how we get all these Negroes who pretend to be down with the people, and then we find out later on they're having meetings with these white politicians and business people trying to finesse themselves a better position. D. Ray McKesson, Tarana Burke, and others. They talk pro-black for all of 2 seconds. The next thing you know, they're trying to get a job at a white university or a radio station or to get a political consulting gig, or they're looking for a book deal, or they're having breakfast, lunch, or dinner with Hillary Clinton. For these agents, the end game is always the same. The problem for these agents is that they want to get black people distracted and get them talking about all this other irrelevant nonsense as quickly as possible. That's the point that they have to reach. That's why they're doing this. They can't spend time talking the way we do for too long. Their job is to get you off of black empowerment, not to reinforce it. So they have to transition immediately from pretending to talk like us to whatever the real agenda is. And it will be to vote blue no matter who, or LGBT advocacy, or buy my dating app or whatever, but it's not going to be black empowerment. But the problem is, wherever there's human suffering, there's also human vultures, like these bootlicks. And there's also human jackals too, like these punks. They bring absolutely nothing intelligent to the discourse at all. You listen to them and all they do is they brag on themselves the same way these struggling, aspiring rappers you see online do, the kind of clowns who are always desperately trying to get a record deal, but they can't even get 500 people to watch them on YouTube. We was doing a pull-up. Fool, all you did was have a block party on somebody else's street. Hell, any of us could have thrown a house party and gotten more people to show up. These clowns have no influence. Nobody listens to them. Nobody believes them. And nobody believes in them. Because real recognizes real, and everyone can see that these chumps are phonies. And that's the reason why these clowns run around trying to get us to validate them. Well, you can't give yourself credibility by osmosis. You're not going to be able to beg or whine or threaten or shame or coerce your way to legitimacy. You got to put in the work. And our listeners, they can tell when someone's trying to finesse them. You can try to scream and yell for attention all you want, but at some point they're going to look to us to see whether or not you're legit. How many times we got to say it? For 15 years been saying it. You're going to have to do a hell of a lot more than pay lip service to black empowerment. If the only thing you do is to repeat B1, cut the check, and a couple of other catchphrases, if that's the only thing that you're doing, that's lip service. And that ain't good enough. The people are going to look to us and ask, hey, this person over here, they check out. And when they get silence from us, they'll understand, okay, this person, they don't check out. Black empowerment is about the survival of our people. But for these mama's boys, these dusty dudes and hood rats, they think this is just another arena for clout chasing and attention whoring. Because to them, that's all it is. If they weren't doing this, they would go back to sitting on their mama's couch 8 hours a day smoking a joint. These are the fools who, if it wasn't for the new black media, they'd be somewhere talking about chakras and trying to finesse themselves some sex with some hood rats, which is what they're trying to do now anyway. This isn't about doing their part for black empowerment. It's about bragging rights and raising their own personal profile and trying to be the head nigga in charge and the big nigga on the block. Brother Khalid Muhammad talked about that kind of two-faced backstabbing Negro a long time ago. So you agents and attention whores, it's great to hear you screaming and yelling, because you got the message. The new voices of black media are not only protecting our people from the white supremacist enemy from without, we're also making sure that we don't have any bootlicking, attention-whoring mama's boys undermining us from within. The code is the leader. Not us, and definitely not you. And we'll be damned if we let you slither your way in here and call yourself changing the code. Because that's what you think you're going to do. Well, you see how well that's working out so far, don't you? So you fools can go back to whatever government handlers you work for, or whatever dusty dudes and hood rats you slum with, and let them know your little operation to divide and conquer the new voices of black media from the grassroots has failed. Again. Good evening, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Miss Debbie, Chaz, Keith Weston, Antoinette Bird, and Rashad Marsh. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.